to another episode. We have a very special guest on, and I'm very happy to, connect with the people just like Toby. I will read through a little bit of bio his, and again, his passion for space exploration. So again, full name, Tobi Hoffmann. He's born in 1983. As he tells about himself, he still thinks he's an amateur astronomer, even though he's been involved into astronomy since 1993 with some large breaks, as he said. So back into this since 5 years, especially interested into astrophotography. So very happy to have this man on. And again, you can find him on Astrophotography Tools on Instagram. Same you can do on Astrophotography Tools on YouTube, and make sure to check it out, astromod.com, which of course all these links are going to be down below for you to go and check. So make sure you get in contact with Toby also and follow his work, because it's awesome. So just want to say thank you, for being on the show today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having the chance to be here.
It's awesome. So listen, first question, I think that people would like to know, again, you started your journey in 1983. So quite a long time ago. Probably some people who are watching, they weren't even born at that time, but can you just talk about your passion? How did you came across, this space exploration thing? Where did your passion started?
Well, I got my first scope in 1993 as a 10-year-old boy. So I was very excited having a first scope, looking a bit around with it, don't see anything. Then finally I got a bit calmed down and managed to see the moon for the first time through the small scope. So that was really awesome, watching the moon for the first time. Well, for sure it was a cheap scope, so the view wasn't that impressive. Like, you got some meteor photos in the newspapers, etc. at those times. But it was awesome looking at the moon for the first time, seeing how it moved through the image. But then finally it really kicked off in 1997 when there was the comet Hale-Bopp. You could see him for basically almost a year from Europe. So that was awesome. Looking up there, young boy, looking up there at the comet, having some older people saying, hey, look at this, what's that? And then you could explain it to older people. So that was basically when it really started, was 1997, then when it get a bit more serious, like also informing what am I seeing, etc.
Got it. So yes, sorry about that. So he was born 1983. I said, you discovered the space exploration 19, but I guess that's where it started, because you're born into this space. So that's where it, began probably for you.
That's true. Yeah. Basically, that's where the story began.
Yeah, exactly. So can you talk about, again, you mentioned, the comet, the Hale-Bopp comet, so that was kind of a big influence on you, in the beginning stages. So was that like the biggest influence for you to follow this passion, or was there maybe, some different event or some person that influenced you to follow in this passion?
No, that definitely was. Well, basically the moment that really got me into the passion was, we were at my granduncle's place. He was living close to Leipzig, which is a city in Saxony in Germany. We were sitting outside having our family barbecue, which we had once a year. And we were sitting at the fireplace. And then when the fire came down a bit, so it became darker, then my granduncle just said, look up, what's that? And then I said, well, that's the comet Hale-Bopp. So that was really the moment when I was, also telling people, hey, actually, there's a bit more than just a few stars in the sky. So that was basically what interested me in basically getting some of the knowledge so you can give it away to other people. And that's still what's driving me. Like on Instagram, it's still good to get questions like, hey, where did you see that? How do you see this? Which scope do I need to see it? So that's still basically the passion behind it, is really give it to people that don't have the time and patience, but still are interested from time to time.
Exactly. And again, I love the work, and you guys should go and follow him. As I said, Instagram, YouTube, like go and check it out, his website. Of course, as I said, all the links are going to be down below for you to do so. So can you share like the current equipment that you're working with? Is it the same equipment that you bought when you started, or have you upgraded it? Like what's going on currently?
Well, I think I've made the way like many astronomers did, like changing the equipment year to year to year to year. Not always getting bigger, sometimes getting back smaller, like I went this year, which was a perfect step. So currently I'm using, I would call it 2.5 rigs for astronomy. I have a wide field rig, which is consisting of a very small William Optics SpaceCat 51 telescope, a very small refracting telescope combined with an EOS 6D camera, which is taking this amazing wide field images like big nebulas, like the Eel Nebula, etc., with lots of stars around it. So that's for wide fields. That's also what most of my current images on Instagram are from this rig. My second 1.5 rig, I would call it, is a big Celestron Siege mount, which I have 2 scopes that I use with it. It's a 150 millimeters Maksutov telescope, which is made and perfectly made for planetary and moon observing, but also imaging, which I just start. Planetary imaging is a complete different story. It's very hard, I can tell you. And additionally, I have an old 8-inch Orion UK Newton telescope, which I've bought used, lots of scratches, dents, buckles on it, which I'm currently reworking. I've posted, I think, some very short video clips on Instagram beginning of this year about the mirror, which had scratches all over. So this one I'm currently preparing to use it in the winter season. Winter season to me means lots of, let's say, galaxies. Like if you, the Orion Nebula, so you need a big aperture telescope. So I want to make this Newton, let's say, capable of doing some astrophotography this winter.
Got it, got it. Okay, so what will be your advice for people again who are watching and they feel, you know, their passion and they want to get involved, you know, into space exploration. They want to see the sky, they want to see the planets, you know, and like what is the type of equipment that you recommend for the beginners to get when it comes to, so maybe you can give an advice on the equipment and on a softwares that people should get in the beginning stages.
Yeah. Well, for the scope, it really, to me, is important. It must be a light and easy setup, especially for the beginners. If you have a scope that takes you half an hour to be set up, you will lose the fun on that hobby. So really, the first thing you need is a scope that is easy to set up and easy to carry. So I would really recommend going for a 6-inch or an 8-inch Dobsonian telescope, which is really giving you great views of deep sky objects. You even feel like you can see some colors already in some objects, which is really great. If you're coming or living in a bigger light polluted area like downtown or around the big city, I would go for a smaller refracting telescope or a Maksutov 127 millimeter Maksutov and go for planets, because that's the best thing you can do basically out of a light polluted area. There's some real cool guys that make awesome deep sky astrophotography from downtown areas, but for a beginner, I would really use a small Maksutov telescope for planets. If I'm living in a city, if I'm living in the land side, or I can go outside with the scope, then let's go for 6 or 8-inch Dobsonian. It's perfect. Very important to me is talk to the shop or the seller of the equipment before you purchase it, because those are the guys that have the knowledge. They have some equipment there. You can test it, you can feel it sometimes. And also a good tip for Facebook groups is, because I see it every day, beginners are going there, hey, I want to buy that scope, what do you think? Which usually nowadays in Facebook leads to, that's shit. No, that scope is not good. You know, but if you go in there and say, guys, I haven't chosen a telescope yet. I'm living in a village area. I want to see deep sky objects. Can you give me an advice? And then you get hundreds of mails and messages of people basically telling you, well, you should go for that one. That's perfectly for this, and etc. So you should not go with a predefined scope into a Facebook discussion. That's really something I see day to day. And then you have the first 10 messages usually is blaming like, don't buy from this dealer or whatever. And it doesn't give you any real information about what you actually wanted to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very solid advice. So talking about the softwares, like what advice would you give? You know, what type of software should they purchase in the beginning stages, and like the pricing points also for those?
With software in the beginning stages is basically, I would use free software like Carte.ciel. It's a very good software. You can see what can I see from my location tonight. How is the sky moving around? So that's a good thing. To have Stellarium is a great software, which costs some money if you want it on your mobile phone, but it's perfect. You have great information in there about everything you basically can see with your naked eye. That's perfect. If you want to go into planetary imaging, I would recommend, for example, SharpCap. fire capture. Those are two really planetary imaging softwares that can even be used slightly for deep sky imaging, but mainly, in my opinion, I use them for planetary only. So they are more for planetary, but that's awesome software. So especially for the beginner, I think it's important to fiddle around a bit with the hardware before getting into software. But software, definitely you need a, let's say, observatory software like Stellarium or Cartesius. That's really helping a lot to find objects.
Got it. Okay. So again, in your current experience, having all these years, working, like having this hobby, or I don't know the way you consider what it is for you right now, but what do you consider your most significant achievement so far in all these years?
Well, I would say really this year when I was going onto Instagram and to start with Instagram pictures, getting my first experience with social media, basically this year on Instagram. This was great because before it was like, neighbors or my parents were coming over saying, hey, what did you look at yesterday? And you explained them what you were seeing and how you were taking it. But now with Instagram, it's basically published. So whenever you take an image, you can share it with everybody and you get so many questions, and even still the neighbors, but now the neighbors find what I was imaging on Instagram first before they come over and ask, how did you do that? So that's cool. So definitely the Instagram channel starting this year was a big kick, and it gave me back also a lot of hints and new friends.
Yeah.
So that was cool. That was a good step this year.
Exactly. That's awesome. Like I wouldn't discovered you if you weren't on Instagram also. So,
Exactly.
so that's awesome. Again, and I love the fact that you're saying like your biggest, achievement so far is basically having an impact on people, like your neighbors coming in and asking questions. I love that like the part of your, hobby of your work, with the astrophotography, the big goal for you is just to influence people and help them at the same time, to do and go and explore, to do this thing. So that's awesome. I love it. So can you talk about just one thing that I wanted to ask you again? And a lot of people, including yourself, I'm sure you get asked that question, maybe often, maybe not, maybe, you can tell us, but do you believe, or do you think there's, life in other planets? And if you think yes or no, why?
Yeah. Well, I get this question from time to time. Most of the time, unfortunately, still it's people that say, hey, that's bullshit. It's a big, flat earth. So yeah, well, that's unfortunately the most people writing like this. But yeah, also you get this question. And yes, I do believe that there's life on other planets. It might not be looking like us, like humans. It might look completely different. It might be just bacteria. So if you say life at all, I'm definitely saying yes, I do believe that there's life. If I just see the uncountable number of stars in some Milky Way shots, and then if you see some shots of further galaxies, when you have 3, 4, 5 galaxies in one image, and all of those galaxies consist of millions of stars, I'm quite sure there must be life somewhere else. And well, we will see. We are currently looking deeper and deeper into Mars. So maybe we even have some life in our solar system. Now people start thinking, and some scientists start thinking there might even be life in the atmosphere of Jupiter, possible, some bacteria. So we will see. We will see. I think we as humans are just in the beginning of space exploration. I mean, we have just left our planet a few times. Currently, we are just orbiting around it. So we will see. I think with all the new projects that are going on, I would say in 10 years, we will see people touching ground on other objects again. So yeah, latest in 10 years, I guess we see astronauts on the moon, and we will see. I really have some beliefs in Elon Musk as well, for sure, that we see humans also on Mars, which is awesome because for our generation, that's the first time that we are really leaving the orbit of Earth. So yeah, I haven't seen astronauts walking on the moon in life, so
Yeah.
I'm
So,
looking forward to see that.
definitely. And as you mentioned, it's just our solar system that we like didn't explore yet. Like
Exactly.
look at our planet Earth itself. I mean, there's only probably, of course, I'm gonna get the number wrong, and maybe you guys can comment down below. But I think it's like 10% that we explored, like when it comes to the Earth, because there's like oceans and so much space, in the Earth itself that we didn't explore it like fully yet. So what talk about,
Exactly.
this, like the solar system, the galaxies beyond that. So, I mean, there's tremendous, like when it comes to distances, and we don't have the technology to reach these, to reach these places yet. But as you said, like we're discovering some things, in our solar system, which like not long ago, as you seen on news, like they found the phosphine, on Venus, which is, in the atmosphere, this type of bacteria that, so again, there's a life existing in other planets in our solar system. So why not, an option that somebody else might be, existing again in bacteria form or whatever the form might be in other galaxies. So definitely. So
Exactly.
so talking about like space exploration, astronomy, astrophotography, rocket science, whatever, astrophysics, whatever that might be, like what is the one thing that people you think should know about when it comes to space exploration and everything related to it?
Well, I think, to me, that was also a big influence when I saw that for the first time is the Hubble Deep Field image that you can Google everywhere. You can find it. You can download it in full resolution and check it out. And that's just amazing, that image. I mean, it's basically taken from an area of the sky in the Big Dipper area. It's basically the size of a tennis ball in 100-meter distance to use. It's a very, very, very small piece of our sky. Also, this image already includes about 3,000 galaxies. So with just one image, and they are, let's say, the most far away galaxies there are about 12 billion light years away from us. So if you have 3,000 galaxies, well, it's math. If you say, okay, and in each galaxy there's 1 billion star, maybe maybe half a billion star. So this really is something I can really recommend to everybody. Check out the Hubble Deep Field, download it in full resolution and just zoom through it. You see all varieties of galaxies, and you see some, I think there's 3, 4, 5 stars of the Milky Way still inside of that image. And you think they are, let's say, bigger than the full moon disk. So they are really large, those stars in this image. And then you see all the small galaxies that don't end. So it's really an endless picture. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm just looking at the picture also. So you definitely, guys and girls, should go and download it because it's just unbelievable site. And again, save it as a desktop image. I definitely recommend to do that. Just every day is switch on the computer, like you get inspired. It's like, whoa, that puts you in a different like mind frame all the time. So that's beautiful. So talking about becoming a astrophotographer, for the people who want to start this thing going, what was kind of your things that you had to overcome, kind of the difficult parts in the beginning stages?
Yeah. So definitely one big difficulty in let's say normal working employee lives is the time management for that hobby, because you can only do it at nighttime unless you take some images of the sun, which is nice as well. But if you really want to start in a deep sky, you have to be up at night. Nowadays, with some computers, you can go to bed 2 hours later and then sleep for 4 hours, get back up. But still, time management is, as soon as you have a family and a job you have to take care of as well, it's quite hard to have time. And basically, it's limited to only Friday and Saturday nights, usually, that hobby, if you have a normal working pattern. Um, that's one challenge. And the other challenge really is equipment, which I can just advise once again, ask sellers, ask the shops, ask the guys that know it on Facebook. I mean, I have been going through, let's say, 6, 7 different rigs until I have filled out the correct rig that I want to use, and that gives me really also nice pictures. So if you start shopping around, then you might be set up with the equipment. So really get information first, because the equipment is hard to get. You have brilliant images, you have good advertisements everywhere, but it's very hard to get those advertisement images if
Yeah.
you have the wrong equipment.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So that's why I want you to, guys who are watching and girls this interview, I want you to contact Tobi and ask these questions because again, you've been through the process of, like picking the right scope, picking the right, equipment, and like you made the mistakes, and now you know what's the best type for yourself. So I think some people can save a lot of time and money at the same time by just asking you a few questions. So you guys make sure you do that. So talking about the technology, because you mentioned SpaceX, and so you kind of observe, you see what's going on in a current like industry when it comes to the space technology. So do you keep yourself current, you know, with the technology news? So if you do, like, what do you search and what do you look for?
Okay, so I'm using a lot of social media, basically Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all of the social media. I've some channels that I'm looking at really on a regular basis, getting all information that's possible. Also, I'm working in the aviation business, so we have a good engineering team, and basically for all of us in aviation space is passionate as well. So we also have some day-to-day talkings between engineers, etc., talking about what's going on in space, how crazy they are, some people. So yeah, so it's mainly social media, and also of course you got some, or you made some friends over the years that you are knowing, so you can ask them some, hey, what are you doing there and how is it going? So yeah, it's basically getting ideas from social media and then talking to friends and so on to just talk about what you've just read to confirm or do not confirm the info you got, if it's right or not.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good point, because there's a lot of information, and like I come across a lot of personally a lot of information that might be false, and it's
Yeah,
all done for the purpose of the likes, of the shares, you know, like social media, you know, is a very tricky thing. So people have to kind of do their own due diligence and, you know, kind of research, you know, the topic and make sure that if it's right or wrong, you know, like
exactly.
I don't know what type of websites so you check out, but definitely like NASA websites, yeah, it's you're gonna get the right information. I mean, NASA is NASA, right? So and again, like
Exactly.
as you said, meeting people just like this as we're doing right now. So guys, make sure to go reach you know, people, because there's people just like Toby, you know, who have a experience, knowledge of years, you know, by, you know, perfecting this hobby, which is super awesome. So the question that I have is, beside the, you know, Hubble Space Telescope, which like these deep space you know, photo inspired you so much, what other projects are you looking forward to in the future?
Well, as I said, I'm looking forward to my Newtonian telescope, first light this winter, we will see. I'm looking forward to the galaxy season when it restarts at the mid until the end of winter. Also, something not to forget for everybody is Mars is going into opposition on 24th of October this year. He will be as close to the Earth and as big as he was in 2003 for the last time. So look up for Mars. It'll be visible with your naked eye. It is already, but it'll be really brighter than usual to the naked eye. And through a telescope, you should make out, even with a 90mm refractor, you should be able to make out some fuzzy details on it. So that's really good. And also one big step forward that I will try to do this winter is setting up my YouTube channel in a way of creating some useful content. So currently I'm showing some images. It's like many, I would say millions of YouTube channels currently, like, he has uploaded something half a year ago. So this winter I will try to look into that and also make some of the questions I get from time to time, you know, explain them, giving some slide tutorials just to, let's say, avoid for people to wait for me to respond, which sometimes takes a day or two. So they have a video available for certain questions like what scope setup should I get as a beginner, etc. I will show that also with some of my own equipment. So that's the plan for the winter YouTube channel. Big plan, I guess. If I see my Instagram channel this year, it was quite some work. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, it's gonna be fun, because I mean, you enjoy what you do, so I don't think it's gonna be like big work. Like what I'm doing currently, like, you know, having you on the show, asking all these questions, and, you know, getting all the insights and your personal knowledge. Like I do enjoy that. It's not like it's work and it's like, oh my God, I have to talk with these people. Like I do
exactly,
enjoy it. So for you, I guess it's kind of the same process.
it is. It
Yeah.
is.
So again, make sure to go and subscribe already to astrophotography tools on YouTube as well. And yeah, as I said, you know, there's a lot of things that we, you know, going to be looking forward to, as like mentioning the Hubble telescope. You know, the James Webb telescope is coming up, you know, next year into the orbit. So there's a lot of great things coming up next year. So definitely,
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
think a lot of people excited. So when it comes to self-education, books are kind of great, old school resource still to educate yourself about the astrophotography. So
Yeah,
kind of what will be
absolutely.
your 3 book recommendation that you recommend for people to read?
All right, well, let's say on number 3, I'll have a German book. It's called The Deep Sky Atlas, which basically is a book only consisting of maps of the night sky. But this one is really helpful if you sit next to your telescope, because it's very detailed maps. It's very good. You can just go, okay, which area am I looking through? You can have a look in that book. It'll show you what you're actually seeing there. It'll show you nice targets. That's really a good book. It's written by Michael Pfeiler and Philip Nowak, 2 German authors and astronomers. They're really good guys. Second place, in my personal opinion, is First Light and Beyond by D.A. Jenkins. It's a great scope book, especially for the beginners, because it'll show you not only what you can see with expensive equipment. This book is also explaining what you actually see with the equipment you have. So basically, because for our beginners, it's always hard to look through a scope, see a nebula, just slightly tiny fuzzy nebula in the scope, and then you think, well, it doesn't look like in the media. So this book really describes you that you can be very happy with what you have seen already and what to expect from a certain setup. It's really a good book. And the best book, and I always have it next to me, is really The 100 Best Astrophotography Targets by Ruben Kier. Something I can recommend, and I saw many astrophotographers recommending this already. It's a great book. It has for every month of the year, it has some certain targets that you can check out in the book. You can see how was the image taken, some explanation to the target. So that's really an amazing book, especially as astrophotographer, when you are looking like, I have no idea what to shoot today. I want to shoot this and that and that. And then you take a look in that book and then you can just see, okay, how can I frame the target best and which target is best today? And that's really an amazing book. And it's recommended by countless number of people. Like if you see Trevor from Astro Backyard, for example, as one of the really big players in the social media astrophotography scene, even he's recommending this book, and I trust in him. He's still reading it to see and find targets to shoot. So that's really a good book that you keep for life. So I have it, I don't know how many years now, and I'm looking it up. When it's rainy like today, rainy, windy, I'm looking into it and already planning the next targets that I want to shoot. So that's a really good book.
Awesome, awesome. And yeah, I'm just looking at the book and it's on Amazon. You can buy it super cheap, Kindle, paperback, whatever you want. It's 115 ratings, 4-star review, but it's supposed to, I think it's supposed to be 5, but I think it's somebody rated 4 because, they just quit it on their hobby probably. And they was like, it doesn't work, whatever. So yeah, so that's good. That's good. I love the book recommendations. We're gonna put those books in the links down below, so it's easy for you to go and grab those. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate the time today, Tobi. I mean, a lot of insights, a lot of knowledge, and I still feel like you can give so much more on what we, covered today on the show. And that's why I would like you guys to go and follow him and follow the YouTube channel and check it out, the website, and just, stay close to Tobi and make sure that you follow his journey. Because again, if you go to his Instagram page, you're going to see he accomplished so much yet. I mean, and the quality of the photos of the work is unbelievable. So make sure you go and do that. So yeah, I mean, again, it's been a great fun. Thanks, for taking the time to do this. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah, no worries, guys. And just one thing that I wanted to ask you and girls, if you enjoyed this piece of an interview and I think there's a lot of great pieces to take away, just to pass it along to your friend, share it with your friend if he's interested or might be interested into space exploration, becoming an astrophotographer. So just please do that. And again, until the next time, and I will see you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.